Welcome back to Max Reaction. Hopefully you're having a blessed day, and we're going to check out an interesting video, and the title of it's Being Filipino, Immigration, and the Young Generation. So this video, I haven't watched it yet, but I read the description, and it's about this young generation has migrated outside the Philippines, and what are their thoughts about it? What are their feelings? Maybe they compare where they're at now to where they was in the Philippines, and I find that very interesting. As you know, I have a couple small children that are American and Filipino. They're mixed, and they really haven't spent much time in the Philippines, if at all. My son Hunter, he's been over there a couple times, but he's only 3 years old. Will he remember that? Probably not. We got videos so he can. My other son, Oliver, he's never been because he was born during the pandemic and we've never got to take him over there yet. But we will, and possibly we will live over there one day. But, I want them to know the culture of the Philippines, experience the culture of the Philippines, and learn from it. I want them to know both sides. They're seeing the American side of them now. Hopefully they can see the Filipino side of them in the future. That's the plan. That's what I want. I think that's important for my children to know both sides, because their blood, their mother, their father, they come from two different places, two completely different places. The United States is completely different from the Philippines, as the Philippines is completely different from the United States. Completely. I don't, a lot of you, some of you have experienced and got to come over to the Philippines if you're Filipino, and you've got to come over and experience it. It's just a vast different world. It really is. Is there similarities? Yes, there are. But there's more differences than similarities. So let's check out this video. Let's see what we can learn from this young generation. Let's see what their minds are seeing or feeling, Let's do this. So let's go ahead.
I thought I was judged a lot by how I looked and how I dressed, and even how I talked, because I still had an accent when I came. And even going to stores and stuff, people would look at you, they would follow you. Not that it was a bad thing, it was more of oh, they're different.
I guess the change of culture around me, it was a really big culture shock, especially, yes, I did know how to speak English, but it wasn't how people spoke here.
How do you compare your life in the U.S. to the Philippines?
Compared to living here, I think everything was more accessible in the Philippines. If you need to go buy something, you can get it just across the street.
Yeah.
In here you have to either ride a bus or drive yourself to a store.
My life in
And that was one of the first things my wife said, is she's like, man, you gotta travel really far in a car just if you want to go get some eggs, or milk or whatever. You might have to drive 10 miles, or everything's so far to get to. And in the Philippines, like they said, you can just a lot of times just go across the street or go down the road or go to a mall that's close by or a market that's close by, and you can get what you need for the day. Sometimes you got to travel really far in the United States because everything's so spread out. Yeah, of course, there is neighborhoods that are close to the grocery store, but there's so much that's not.
Philippines, I feel was a lot better because majority of my family lived there. Here it's just me and my mom, so all my aunts, my uncles, my siblings, my cousins are all there. The food is a lot different. Here there's a lot of fast food versus back home I would go to the market and buy fresh fish.
And he's got a really good point. Over there you're always around a lot of people. Even when I visited with my wife's family, there's always people coming over, or people in the house, cousins or friends, or there's always somebody around. There's always people to talk to. Over here in the United States, you can get lonely. Like, I've just recently got to know my neighbor, and we've been neighbors for like 6 years. My other neighbors, I don't know at all. I think that's impossible in the Philippines not to know your neighbor. It's just, you go over there and it's just a different world. So much communication, so friendly, and it's just amazing how different the cultures are. And I just totally agree with that part of it.
The pressure of choosing a career choice, because I feel like now in the 21st century, young people are so pressured to choose a career choice because we're taught that if you don't choose a career right now, then you're not gonna have a career later. You're gonna be living from house to house.
I think the biggest thing is like sexual orientation. Because when I came out to my family for being bisexual, it was very like weird for them because they'd never heard of that term until I like told them about it. And I feel like they don't have a big grasp on what it means. And half my family doesn't talk to me anymore because of it, and the other half are really accepting. I think it's mainly a generational thing because they haven't had to face that like years ago.
I feel like I didn't have like the best direction for picking like a major and like picking a career, because I grew up with the, oh, you have to be a nurse, be an engineer, or like something that makes a lot of money.
I wanted to go my own way and actually do something I wanted to do, which is computer science. And I had to have a talk with my mom and tell her that this is I didn't want to be pushed into being a doctor or a nurse or a surgeon.
And I agree with that as a parent. Yeah, you want to kind of push on your kids a little bit, but you shouldn't push them in just one direction. So maybe we shouldn't push them, we should support them. We should support our children. Let's talk to them like, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? What are your dreams? What dreams do you want to follow? Because whatever those are, I'm going to support you. I want to be there for you, and I want to make sure you succeed. And a lot of times, when you're young, you think you want to be this or you want to be that, and it changes. You realize, well, I really didn't like that, or I don't like that, and I want to go through a different path. So, being young, yeah, you should have dreams and wants and know what you want to do, but we also got to be open to it could easily change, and we should be supportive on that as parents to our children.
I like how it kind of opens up the world, and I understand that for some people it's kind of hard.
If you don't have your phone with you, you're kind of forced, to make conversation with people, and you connect with people so much better. Like, even if you have your phone with you, but you say you're not going to look at it, you're still going to want to. But if you don't have that option, then it's that much easier to make connections with people. So, while technology is a good tool, it's very useful. It can take away from human interaction.
Absolutely.
I think technology is like great, like we're like advancing, and it's like for the convenience. But at the same time, I think technology is also really detrimental to like our generation, because it's replacing a lot of like social, like face-to-face interaction.
Yes, but it also keeps you connected to your homeland. Like, some of these people migrated from the Philippines to the United States. Without that technology, you're not seeing your friends, you're not seeing your family, you're not watching YouTube videos of your country, having that nostalgia and seeing the things that you miss. So you got to balance it out. Like, yes, we need to have in-person interaction, but we also need the technology, because if you take the technology out, you're going to lose a lot. I promise you. There's things that you're going to miss out on that it's just gone forever. So we do need the technology.
I feel like I'm still connected to the older generation, because growing up, like, a lot of people who are mixed or come to the US as kids, they don't know the language, they don't know the culture, they don't know where their heritage is from. Versus, like, growing up, I spoke 2 Filipino dialects before I learned English, and I'm aware of our culture, like our foods, our dances, our music, versus like my friends who have grown up in America. They're very disconnected from their heritage. Like, they don't even know like the simple basic terms on how to say things. They don't know regions or places in the Philippines that are very popular or common, and they're just like unaware of their background and where they come from.
That man is absolutely 100% correct, and that's why I make that's one of the reasons why I make so many videos, so I can learn. Of course, their Filipino mother, she teaches them a lot of things. She speaks to them in Bisaya and Tagalog and English, of course. But as a father, you want to teach your children too. I want to teach them the American side, but I also want to teach them the Filipino side, even though I'm not from the Philippines. And I've learned so much about the Philippines through my reactions and through these videos on YouTube, and I've learned so much, and I can share that knowledge with them so they're not as disconnected. To be connected, I think you gotta live there and experience it, and hopefully as a father I can instill that in their life one day and be able to be over there so we can learn together, grow together, and see the culture together. So I totally agree with what that man is saying.
I do feel disconnected from the older generations just because there's the whole, like the old-fashioned, you know, like older generations are like so like old-fashioned unless they're like, you know, keeping up with like us now, and I feel like there's just a really big, I just feel like there's a really big difference between the generations, like whether it's ideals or like the way we have to act and our mannerisms and technology. Just like I feel like there's just a really big gap in generations and from the older generation.
And here's the thing, not only do young people learn from older people, but certainly you never stop learning throughout life, no matter how old you get. So older people do learn from the younger generation. It works both ways. It works both ways, and if you can learn from each other, you connect better, and it's just better for everybody, you know? We never stop learning. If you ever stop learning, then you're dead, because you learn every single day. Even if you're 100 years old and you have Alzheimer's, you may have learned something and forgot it, but you did learn something that day.
I don't think I feel as disconnected as people who grew up here in the United States, although I do see why they would be kind of disconnected from them.
Yes.
I would raise my son differently than the way I was raised. I know I was raised a lot of like the old school way, and I like the super like strict and stay home all the time and focus on school 100%, like just super like hard line, like being strict and old fashioned, I guess the way I saw it. And I just want to raise my son differently because I mean I'm like a young mom right now, and I feel like there's like a lot of stigma around that, and then I feel like I don't know, I just want to raise him differently because I was put around like really sheltered and like kept at home, and then I guess that had like a part to do with me like being like a bad kid. But then I just want to not do that to him. Like I want to offer him like the opportunities to do the things that he wants to do, and I think that's why I probably struggled with trying to figure out my future, because how am I supposed to figure out figure myself out like staying in a room, like I mean like staying at home, you know, like I can't go out and like discover things, and like I wasn't able to do that until, you know, like getting a little more freedom. So like I want to give my son like more freedom to like discover himself and find his passions and help him figure out his way in life.
I
absolutely 100% agree with her, and there's nothing wrong wanting to raise your children a little bit different, not fully, but a little bit different than what your parents raised you and how they raised you, you know? I definitely raised my children different than the way my parents raised me, and there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you have good intentions for your children and you want to point them the right direction and support them and help them grow as grow into an adult, and you're positive about it, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely zero wrong with that.
My children slightly different. I feel like I wouldn't pressure them into going or having the same beliefs that I have. I feel like I was influenced a lot by my parents. 'Cause
Yes.
they were like superior and they were the authority figures, so I should have followed and listened to what they said. And I believe that each person growing up needs to discover who they are and what they believe in. I would teach my children what not to do, but not influence them on, oh, I'm firm on this belief, you can't
Bingo.
disagree on that.
I would probably raise them just a little bit different.
Yes,
Like
yes.
I'll be more lenient, open to them being exposed to more stuff that is like
Worldly.
into their generation.
Absolutely love this. I guess that's the end of the video, but I absolutely love this. It's an awesome thing that you can just look into younger generations' minds, see what they're thinking, and they're gonna tell you. And maybe as older generations like me and maybe you, we can learn from that and understand the way they're thinking if they're gonna be open. And we should have open ears and we should listen and we should learn from it just like they learn from us. But absolutely wonderful video. Hopefully you check it out. Hopefully you liked it. Go check their channel out. I'll definitely leave their link down below. But let me know what you thought. If you agreed with them, if you agreed with me, if you disagreed, that's fine too. And let me know what I should react to next and I'll try to get to it. But for now, hopefully you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Peace.